What's up, folks? Welcome back, ballers, to the newest extension or the newest chapter of the love themes that have been going on all year long. Hey, Kodi, can you hear me out there?
I can hear you. Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate you.
Always a pleasure, Kodi. Had a great time with you on Tuesday.
That was definitely fun. I enjoyed that.
Hello, Casey.
Casey's in the chat.
Yeah, Casey mentioned Happy Gilmore's happy apartment was 701. Adam Sandler turned 701 months old on the day of Super Bowl 59. Wow. Well, we know who won Super Bowl 59, right? The city of brotherly love.
Yeah, that's perfect. I remember him telling me that. Waterboy
in Louisiana, where Super Bowl 59 was, maybe Waterboy 2 is what's next. Okay. That, you know what? That would not surprise me at all. We're gonna talk a lot about that today. This is gonna be fun. Hey, Susan. Hey, RD. Good afternoon from the San Francisco coast. Hey, Coffee Girl, as always. She's the one you can always rely on.
Good old Coffee Girl. Much love to her.
But all right, it sounds like people can hear us. Let me turn off the music here. Can you hear me okay, Kodi?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you. Perfect. Okay, great. Well, welcome back, ballers, once again to another episode on the Ball Don't Lie channel. This one is titled Love You. This is going to be another extension or another chapter of the love themes of what I've been on since day one, at least as far as opening up my new YouTube channel. And Kodi, I just want to thank you so much for joining me for this stream. I think there's some divine reason why you may be kind of co-hosting me with this. And I know that we haven't really gone into all the details about what I'm going to present, but I'm very blessed and thankful to have you join me today. Thank you to everybody that is tuning in. Please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. You guys can find Kodi at Decoding with Kodi 589, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, shout out Coffee Girl. Steven, good to see you. Sound is solid, he says. Susie, great to see everybody. So let's get started. Like I mentioned, I've shown this visual several times. The very first video I put out on the YouTube space was back on March 27th of this year called Love is in the Air. It really stemmed with a news article about Tiger Woods confirming his relationship with Vanessa Trump, saying that love is in the air. And that was at the exact same time that Arizona, in college basketball, the state of Arizona, founded on Valentine's Day, facing up against Duke. And like we talked about on our stream on Tuesday, Arizona defeated the Ducks to go on to the Sweet 16 to face Duke. And that's important because of all the duck and love themes, right? We have Kendrick Lamar Duckworth, who was bagging on Drake in the Super Bowl halftime show, where the city of brotherly love won the Super Bowl. And Rambo talked about how Drake is actually related to the male duck. But I've also done other videos called Love is the Answer, Love is MIA. Don't forget that when Arizona defeated the Ducks, that was the exact same day that Mia Love in the political world was reportedly dead. Also did a live stream with Widow's Son. Shout out to Sean Widow's Son. We did a whole stream called Love in Spades, just talking about how the spade is essentially the upside down heart, right? It's two of the four, shapes, if you will, in the world of poker, I guess you could say. But to segue into the latest news, I'm sure you saw this, Kodi, but now, after all of this, of course, now we have the Oklahoma City Thunder sponsored by Loves. That's now in the NBA Finals. I mean, I don't think that's a coincidence at this point.
I mean, this is perfect, man. I mean, really, with all you've been talking about, this is just the icing on the cake right here.
It really is,
And
you know. Yeah.
and you called it too. You were all over this loves thing right at the beginning of this. I remember that. And sure enough, that's who made it through there. So
Yeah,
good
and
call, man, for
I
sure.
I appreciate that. You know, shame on me though. To clarify, I did not actually predict a future on the Thunder to make it to the finals. It was just something that kind of slipped right past me until the Western Conference Finals, where I was like, "Oh my God, that's right." They're sponsored by Loves. They have five hearts stacked on top of each other on their freaking jersey. So sometimes it really is that simple. You know, you don't even need codes and numbers and all that. If you can catch on to the theme of what's continuing to be put out in the news in the mainstream, sure enough, here we are. We got the Loves taking on either the Knicks or the Pacers. And you know that's not what this stream is about. But once again, here's where we're at. The Oklahoma City Thunder, sponsored by Loves, now in the finals. Uh, Once again, don't forget the city of brotherly love just won the Super Bowl this year as well. So now you have two different teams associated with Loves or with Love, both in arguably two of the biggest sports, at least in the U.S., that are connected to the love theme, right?
You know what's interesting about that, I noticed, is just quickly on this topic of Philadelphia winning the Super Bowl and now OKC being in the NBA championship. There's something very similar about the letters in the team that's OKC and the team that Philadelphia beat to win the Super Bowl, which is the KC, right? So
oh yeah. Ooh.
You have the O in front, and the O can represent, what you talked about, right?
Love, right? Because in tennis, right, when a tennis player has 0 in the score, that's what they call it, right? In the world of tennis, right? If it's 2-0, it's 2 to love, right? And
right,
no, great point. Wow, I once again right in front of your face, right? OKC, O represents love in tennis. They're sponsored by Loves, and then to your point, KC, Kansas City. Kansas City faced the city of brotherly love. It's amazing, Cody.
Yeah, and I think that O can also represent a couple other things too, like a crown, like circles like a crown on top. Mm-hmm. So there's other things, but the love, I think in this case, with them wearing the loves on their shirt, I think it seems to be that's kind of what they're pointing to. I did notice too, just real fast, to go with the love theme and to kind of connect to what we talked about yesterday or the other day with Sirius. Loves, the company on the shirt there, does equal 595 in standard gematria, and that's a huge number with Sirius. So there might be something there, but definitely interesting with that. I'll have to think more about this whole OKC and KC thing. There's something there for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's beautiful, Cody. Like that's the kind of stuff that I love, like more than the numbers, because when you see this stuff up front that's screaming right in front of your face, truth in plain sight, if you will, the numbers are always going to follow. Always.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I want to shout out Edward. Edward Ponder just said here, if you get out in cricket with no runs, it's called a duck. So that's really interesting. 0 runs in cricket. If you get out, it's called a duck. And then in tennis, a 0 score is love. And then now you have O or 0 KC, sponsored by Loves. And that's a great way to kick this off.
I wonder if there's something with the well, we know there's something with the duck and love, but I wonder if there's something with the duck specifically and I don't know. I just something came in my head that the ducks fly in a V, mm-hmm. right? And there's obviously a V right in the center of love. So I don't know. There maybe there's more to that. I just remember watching the Mighty Ducks, right? That was one of my favorite movies as a kid. And
me too, Codes. Me too. I grew up a Ducks fan. I grew up in Orange County, California. So my teams were the Angels, the Ducks, and the Clippers. I couldn't stand the Lakers, and everybody in the entire state of California is a Laker fan. So I wanted to go against the grain. Broke my heart every single year. But no, that's a great point about the V, because that's something that we're going to leave till the very end of this presentation, because that was one thing that I couldn't figure out was about the letter V. And I'm going to blow your mind towards the end here once we get through this. So to reiterate, the title of this presentation is called Love You. This is stemming from a stand-up comedy special by Adam Sandler last year in 2024. I don't remember the exact dates that it released. I do have that information in future slides, but just in all my research, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, like, look, Adam Sandler has just had a recent stand-up special before the Super Bowl late last year called Love You. And I listened to some of it. It's awful. It was a terrible stand-up show. just my 2 cents. It was really bad. But for those of you guys that aren't familiar with my work, I've written 10 books at this point, mostly mini books. I like to chop things down into different themes. And one of the mini books that I wrote was called The Hand. And The Hand really was centered around Happy Gilmore. This was back at the time when Carl Weathers died before Super Bowl 58. Okay. And have you seen Happy Gilmore, Kodi?
Oh yeah, but many years, man. I'm not fresh on it, but I've seen it, of course. But I forget it more than I remember of it. That's for sure.
That's fine. I mean, you might recall that Carl Weathers was in that movie, and he played a character by the name of Chubbs.
Right.
Chubbs Peterson, right? And his whole character, he got his hand bitten off by an alligator. And funny enough, the Gators just won this year's March Madness tournament, didn't they? Wearing the same blue and orange colors as the Thunder that are now, with the Loves patch on their jersey.
Oh, that's a good point. The same colors, huh?
Yep, same exact colors as the Florida Gators. And this isn't going to be a read through of The Hand. If any of you guys are interested in this book, I can email it to you for free at wordplaybook with 3 O's at gmail.com. Or you guys can send me a DM or a message here on YouTube or on Instagram as well. But when Carl Weathers died, that was the first thing I thought of, was this movie Happy Gilmore. And who else was in Happy Gilmore? Bob Barker. And Bob Barker died right before the Super Bowl 58 as well. So I just immediately thought of this movie. I wrote this book. I did a complete read through, by the way, on Sean Widow's son's channel. You guys can go back to Widow's Son and you guys can look up The Hand. And we do a full read through of this mini book. It's about, it's like 35 pages or so, a lot of visuals. But it started there. And I'm not joking, Kodi. Within a week after we did that live stream, there was an announcement of another death of another actor of Happy Gilmore. Joe Lafferty. He was the guy that said, "Hey, Happy, you suck, you jackass." He was that guy. So he dies shortly after I write this book. And on top of that, then they announce that they're working on a Happy Gilmore 2. All of this stuff went public after I wrote this book and after I put it out to the community. Reading through it, it was just so bizarre. And really just kind of a testament to, I was onto something, at least when it came to this Happy Gilmore thing. And sure enough, now, once again, we're talking about Adam Sandler then coming out with a stand-up special called Love You. And I guess to open it up, that one of the parts of the show, I mean, call this a reach or not, but he did emphasize the hand here slightly in one of his jokes where he says, they hug and they laugh and they high five, right? So he puts his hand up and kind of pantomimes a high five, kind of going back to the hand, which I thought was interesting. But this is a snippet from chapter 4 of this mini book titled Barker, Travis, and Sandler. And once again, this was right before Super Bowl 58, and the Kansas City Chiefs won Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas, home of the Raiders. And let's not forget that Carl Weathers actually did play for the Raiders in the NFL. So it was a very fitting death leading up to that particular Super Bowl. But what I wrote here was, what if I also told you that Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs suffered a hand injury on his way to winning Super Bowl 58 against the Miami Dolphins of all teams, remembering the Sea of Hands play versus the Raiders. Okay. This was back in 1974. So Travis Kelce gets his hand injury. There's all this concern. Oh, is Travis Kelce going to be okay? Can he play in the Super Bowl? But look at the team he played against. It was against the Miami Dolphins. And if you guys don't know about the Sea of Hands play, just look it up. 1974. It was against the Raiders and the Dolphins. And once again, the Raiders are the ones that hosted Super Bowl 58. And Travis Kelce got this hand injury right before Super Bowl 58 that was being hosted by the Raiders. So it's perfect. And when we think about the hand and we think about love, what do we do in America, at least? Put your hand over your heart, right? So there's that whole hand and heart connection too that I haven't really dove deeper into. But once again, oftentimes it's that simple. You know, you put your hand over your heart. So there's clearly an overlap connection there as well. Sarah says, decoding with Kodi. Hey, Adam Sandler is from where I live, Manchester, New Hampshire. Is he though? I thought he was from Brooklyn, because that's part of my presentation as well. But keeping it moving, Kodi. Get this, bro. So I talk about Travis Kelce and his hand injury. In this book, leading up to Super Bowl 58, he wins Super Bowl 58. Then Joe Lafferty dies from Happy Gilmore. Then they announce a release date of Happy Gilmore 2. Guess who's in Happy Gilmore 2? Travis Kelce.
Well, isn't that just perfect too? Because his whole thing was this Taylor Swift stuff, and that was all about their love and their,
right.
You know, it was a love story. And doesn't Taylor Swift have a song called "Love Story" that's very famous? Like,
I think so. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
they all have loves. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just know this one's like the really famous one. It's a love story, baby, you just can't be, or something, whatever, however it goes. But like,
yeah.
Isn't it perfect that, considering we're connecting this with the love, and then he just happens to appear here in this movie, and then he's in the middle of a love story. I mean, that's what the whole season that year was like tied to, was the love story between Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
Yep.
So, I mean, to me, that's just perfect to bring it all together with him being there.
Yeah, it was just blowing my mind, man. I mean, just the whole connection of this Happy Gilmore thing. The screenshot here on the right, is part of the trailer of this stand-up special, Love You, where now Adam Sandler's signing Happy Gilmore jerseys. You know what I mean? So it's like he had to throw in a promo for Happy Gilmore 2 in this Love You stand-up special. But yeah, and then sure enough, not only do they release they're coming out with Happy Gilmore 2, but of course you got Travis Kelce with the hand injury that is in the movie as well. Just mind-blowing. Let's see. Casey Jones says the Love Hurts game in Brazil. What season was that? Tom Brady's ex-wife, Brazilian.
Oh wait, yeah. So
I'm not sure.
That was last year. That was I believe it was the opening game of the NFL season last year in Brazil between the Packers and the Eagles. And of course, the game is love versus hurts, right? And didn't they face each other again in the playoffs as well, these two, I believe.
Good point. And that was in Sao Paulo.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then didn't Paulo just win the Indy 500?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. A guy named Paulo, or however, I think that's how you say it. Paulo, right? So
something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And remember, Gematronnator, he did an amazing decode on that Love Hurts game in the beginning of the season. If you go from the Nazareth song called Love Hurts, are you familiar with that song? Love Hurts.
Oh, yeah.
You know, sure. Yeah. So that song was completely synced up with that game, man. Gematronnator did an amazing decode on that first game of the season. I don't remember what the measurement was, but if you go from that release of the Nazareth song to that game, it was like a perfect. Oh, that's right. It was I think I remember. Hopefully, I don't say this wrong. I'm just going off of deep memory here, but I think it was 81 Venus years from the release of Nazareth, Love Hurts, to the Love Hurts game. And the reason that's important is because Venus is the god of love, And in gematria, Venus equals 81. So it was 81 Venus years. And again, me and Derek have proven many times that these planet measurements are so big. And especially when you're talking about a love connection and Venus being perfectly aligned with it. And also to go with the V's we were talking about earlier, I think that's why the V is in the middle of love, Venus, right?
Yep.
Goddess of love. So
absolutely. And and Kodi, once again, I think that's going to be a perfect mic drop for the end of this presentation, talking about that V that you pointed out, because once again, that was the one thing as I was wrapping up this this particular presentation where I was like, what is it about the V in love? And I couldn't figure it out, but I think you just I think you just cracked that one.
Cool. I can't wait to see that one.
So keeping it moving here. The very last page of my book, I just write here, I say, as the saying goes, the price is always right, right? This is going back to Bob Barker and how he died right before the Super Bowl last year. Hey, Joseph, good to see you. But the price is always right. And Jesus is said to have paid the price for our sins of the world through crucifixion, involving nailing of the hands and the feet, right? So it goes back to that hand connection, Jesus dying in love, and the hands and the feet are involved. And we're talking about football. And now you got basketball, which Adam Sandler is very passionate about, where it's both hands and feet, etc. But think about this. The name Gilmore, its most common interpretation, signifies servant of the Virgin Mary. And we're talking about Adam Sandler, right? So some of the biggest names in the biblical sense, right? Adam and Eve, the apple shaped like a heart. Gilmore, essentially meaning virgin or servant of Virgin Mary. So I just wanted to point out that kind of biblical connection there as well, just with the name Gilmore.
Yeah, that's crazy. So happy Gilmore, it would be like a happy servant of the Virgin Mary, happy to serve, right?
Yep.
So like that, yeah, didn't even know that. I was gonna look into the meaning of Gilmore here while you were talking. I just didn't do it yet, but you already beat me to it. But that's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And what's funny about this movie, or what's ironic about it, is that Happy is not very happy. You know what I mean? He's a hothead, you know.
Right.
Don't forget Adam Sandler in that movie Anger Management, right? A big part of his comedy is like just him going off. You know what I mean? But so yeah, I mean, just that whole Adam and Eve connection, Gilmore, the servant of Virgin Mary. You know, we've talked about this on our lives with Rambo. You know, obviously recently we had the Brooklyn Bridge crash. Of course, Adam Sandler's from Brooklyn. That's why he's a Knicks fan. Actually, he should be a Nets fan technically, right?
Yeah.
Nets, but
Casey Jones is mentioning, going back to what he said first, just to re-add to this, he mentioned the rosary.
Mm-hmm.
And of course that connects to the Virgin Mary. And in the beginning of the stream, he mentioned that rosary equals 701. And that's how old Adam Sandler was on Super Bowl 59.
701 months old. And in Happy Gilmore, he lived in apartment 701. That's an amazing addition, and that was before we even kicked this off. Casey, that was awesome.
And Casey's been all over Happy Gilmore for a while, just to shout him out. He tried to get me to do a lot more Happy Gilmore stuff. I just never got to it, but he's definitely a Happy Gilmore guy for sure.
Okay, well, hey Casey, please reach out to me. I'm pretty sure I'm following your YouTube now, but please reach out to me about the hand, because this whole book is really surrounding that movie. And you know, once again, with New York, the Big Apple, the apple is the shape of a heart, right? Adam Sandler from Brooklyn. Now we were talking about the Brooklyn Bridge crash that was recent, but Kodi, to shout you out here, I wouldn't have had an eye for it without, you know, people like you and Widow's Son, really, and Rambo, obviously, really emphasizing Sirius, the dog star. What if I told you, Kodi, that in this stand-up, a dog walks out in the middle of his performance? I don't know if it's his dog or someone else's dog or whatever, but you know, he acts like as if that wasn't planned, But I just took a snippet here, just touching on how in Greek mythology, Sirius, the dog star, is associated with love. And in one less common myth, the star god Sirius fell in love with Opora, the goddess of fruit. Right? So it goes right back to the apple, the shape of the heart. Adam and Eve, the apple, the forbidden fruit, right? So I thought that was worth pointing out. And when we really look into just the base ciphers of gematria, Adam Sandler and the dog star overlap in 2 of the 4 base ciphers. Not identically, but you got the 153 and you got the 117, right?
Yeah, this is interesting because I've thought a lot about with the connection between Sirius, because it's the burning star, and when you're in love, you have romantic love at least, but even normal love, if agape love, you have a passion to love others and to be, and I think the burning, the fiery, that ties into it, I think, and I've thought a lot about this, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere also that as you just showed, that the dog star is tied to love, but I didn't know about the Opora thing in the fruit, so that's something I need to look into.
Shout out Casey, that this is the stuff I love. I can't believe I didn't add that in.
I was going to say that
Barker,
too.
yeah.
I was going to say that earlier, actually. I was going to say Barker as in dog, but I forgot.
Incredible. It's right there. Bob Barker.
Oh, wait, doesn't the dog go into heat? They call it heat. Like a female dog goes into heat, right? Is that what they call it? Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that when a female dog is like having like that time of the month, like they go into heat, they call it. Is that what they call it? Or
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar.
That goes back to the burning thing, the fiery part of it, But yeah, that I'll have to look it up and see if I can see if that's right. But I thought that's what they called it.
Yeah, and the last thing, at least with this slide, just touching on the dog and love, right? The dog is known for having unconditional love for their owners, right? So just another high level connection. But when I talk about personal interconnections, my dog's name is Cooper, right? And my dog will only eat, like, he is the pickiest eater ever. The only thing he'll eat are duck hearts. I'm not joking. Freeze-dried duck hearts. It's like, it never fails. As long as I have a duck heart, he'll eat it every single time. But anything else, I've made him like filet, and he'll just turn his nose at it. But he'll eat a duck heart. But then you have Cooper DeJean, who had that pick 6 for the City of Brotherly Love. Then you have Cooper Flag in college basketball. So there's been a ton of Cooper stuff going on. And I got my dog right here, Cooper. And then sure enough, he came from a litter of 2. And I told you this, Kodi, offline. The other dog's name was Cody. So just this whole connection, like this brotherly love that like kind of you and I are building upon, it's just amazing. And I sent you this photo. This is from a suburb just north of where I live. There's a really cool little square in a place called Georgetown. And I'm walking down the street, and there's a Texas company called Kodi Pools that shares the same building as Cooper Commercial. It just like blew my mind. It was just right in front of my face.
Yeah.
Like what are the odds of that? And one thing I did notice too, just last night, I was looking at, there actually is a little slogan under Cooper Commercial, and it says concept to creation. So that's a little interesting, as we're talking about Adam Sandler and Gilmore, the servant of Virgin Mary, Adam and Eve, the Bible, creation, right? So
yeah, when you sent me that off before, I've seen that, but it still blows my mind because I know when we first met, you did mention your dog's name was Cooper and his brother was Kodi, and
yeah,
it's funny too because it's also like the same initials. It's the CC, the 33, and Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be even crazier if I had someone in my life named Cooper, but I can't think of anyone I've ever known named Cooper. So, but
Yeah.
it's still crazy that you had a dog named Cooper and his brother was Cody. So, wow.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's even more esoteric stuff in there about it being Cody pools connected with water. You know, we just 2 weeks ago we were talking about the whole upside down hangman connection with that show Flying Lotus, where he was laying there in the hangman pose next to a pool. So,
Right.
anyways, not to get too off topic. I just wanted to plug in just kind of how, as we lean into knowledge and we lean into connections in our own lives, it's just amazing how things will pop up right in front of you every time. Our creator's amazing. Once again, you guys, we're talking about Adam Sandler's Love You stand-up. This isn't even to really like break down his whole stand-up because, like I told you at the beginning, it was awful. I'm usually an Adam Sandler fan, but like the whole time I was like, what is this? So keeping it moving here, once again on the love theme. So what I pulled up and what I found out was the release date of this stand-up was back on August 27th of 2024. And when you measure from the release date of Love You to the release date of this upcoming Happy Gilmore movie, July 25th, 2025, it's exactly 333 days apart. And what I've touched on in other live streams, when you think about the days of texting before emojis, when you wanted to send somebody a heart symbol, what do? Right? You send them the greater than symbol with a 3. Or oftentimes, if you wanted to send it with multiple hearts, you would do that with a handful of 3s. Right? So the 3 directly connects to the heart because it's essentially the top shape of a heart. See what I'm saying? And in gematria, Adam Richard Sandler, 33. City of Brotherly Love, 33. Philadelphia Eagles, 33. Chris Rock, 33. He's really big in this too because Chris Rock has done a ton of work with Adam Sandler. He's the one who got slapped by Will Smith, who's from Philadelphia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the City of Brotherly Love. And this is just a screenshot from my presentation called Love is the Answer. I'm a huge basketball fan. And my very favorite player still to this day, and my first favorite player was Allen Iverson. Number 3, who played for mostly for the City of Brotherly Love. So I feel like him being nicknamed the Answer and playing in the City of Brotherly Love, it's another means to where they're telling you that love is the answer in this game of life that we're playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's something that you've showed many times already that they're, again, with what's going on now and what's happening with the OKC having their loves on the thing, it's a theme that people should pay attention to. So I'm glad that you're the one, following that theme, because I think somebody should have been following that theme, and I've been following a lot of themes in my decoding time, but there's probably a lot of times I could have been talking about that theme, but I was still on another theme. So, but the I love you theme is so important because that's something that we really have to use on this planet, especially in the current times we're living. So
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, especially with the way things are going and things to look out for. And I mean, my goodness, man, love is in the air, right? We're in the year of plane crashes and collisions, and it's always related to transportation in a way. Boats, cars, bridges, planes, etc. But yeah, here's another screenshot from one of my other love presentations. Chris Rock did a stand-up special where, of course, he's going to talk about him getting slapped by Will Smith. And there's a line where he said that Jada, right, his wife, he said that Jada, she hurt him way more than he hurt me. And who's the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, who just won the Super Bowl? Jalen Hurts, right? And there's a big Jordan campaign. He's sponsored by Jordan. He was wearing Jordans in the Super Bowl, from what I remember. And then, of course, you have the upside down plane crash on Jordan's birthday this year. But there's even a campaign, Love Hurts. And like you were talking about with the song. And, don't forget, Adam Sandler's also been in a movie called Wedding Singer, where he's singing Love Stinks. Right. So a lot of his stuff, a lot of his movies are surrounded by love. Like he's always in kind of a love story of some kind. And I just remember, don't forget, he was in that movie called Rain Over Me, where he lost his whole family after 9/11. That was actually a really, that was a deep movie from what I remember. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's normally, most of the movies I know of him, it's kind of like it's about love, but it also has a lot of humor, So
right.
And as Joseph's bringing up, I also remember that movie. He was in that movie, right? 50 First Dates.
Yeah, that was with Drew Barrymore, and Drew Barrymore keeps forgetting him.
That's right.
Right. So it's like every day she forgets him,
and he has to win her over again every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, shout out Joseph, great addition. But yeah, I mean, you could just kind of go down his entire IMDb. And you'll see how much he's connected just with love themes, in some way or another. But we were just talking about Chris Rock, right? So, another big theme of this whole love theme is really about being as a child, right? I'm pretty sure you and I have talked about this, that there's, what was it? It was Matthew 11:8, where it talks about how the only way to enter the kingdom of heaven is if you humble yourself as a child. And if you don't, then you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And I thoroughly feel that my interpretation is that you really need to strip down the programming that you have gone through growing up as a child. And now as an adult, right, most people that walk around us, they think they know everything there is to know in the world. And if they don't, then they just do a quick Google search, and whatever they see on the screen is fact. But by humbling yourself down as a child, this is the kind of stuff that I really enjoy doing. Don't forget that Adam Sandler and Chris Rock were in a series of movies called Grown Ups, where essentially, these are adult men, maybe, I don't know, right? There's a lot of people that go on about the whole inversion stuff, but that's not what we're talking about. But just grown men acting like children, And Sean and I, in the Love and Spades section, we talked about how David Spade, we were talking about how the spade is the upside down heart. So of course he's one of the main characters of this movie. But when you measure from Chris Rock's birthday to Adam Sandler's birthday, 214 days. Well, what is that? That's Valentine's Day, isn't it? The date written 214.
Well, and just to add to that real fast with this year, that number was huge with the Pope's death. I covered that number extensively with the Pope's death. And, he was hospitalized on Valentine's Day, and then he passed on 21/4. The death of Pope Francis equals 214. He died
That's
on
right.
He died on
birthday.
Yeah, he died on Romulus and Remus, the founding of Rome, on 21/4, and Romulus and Remus equals 214. And I had caught on to that earlier on in the year because I had noticed that there was a pattern with the Slipknot song. What was it called now? Gematria, the Killing Name. And that song equals 214. And the whole thing was synced up with that. I did a whole video about it, but just to reiterate that this 214 has been put on my radar this year as to be a very big number. And I think it all goes back to that Valentine's Day thing. And don't forget, Valentine's Day is right around the festival of Lupercalia. And Lupercalia was a Roman festival of sacrifice, but it revolved around wolves. Luper means wolf. So we kind of go back to the dog theme. And don't forget, the Romulus and Remus connects back to the wolf that fed them, the she-wolf, right? So you could say there might be a love theme there with the wolf taking in these children right? The children, and they
Well,
were
Cody,
fed and nurtured by the wolf. So,
who did the Thunder just beat to go to the finals?
oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And Rambo just talked about how they were connected with Sirius and the star on their logo.
Yep.
And so, yeah, the nurturing. And don't forget that the myth, I believe, is that Romulus and Remus were actually the children of Mars and Venus. So, this theme, I think, is interesting, that Mars and Venus theme, because they were supposedly the children of Mars and Venus. And of course, Mars is war, but love, and Venus is love. And there's a whole history with Mars and Venus. But I think Venus, what is it? I think I can't remember now, but Venus is definitely a big part of this. Of course, we know. But there was a last year there was a collaboration between Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars. It was a love song, "Die with a Smile," which also equals 214. And they actually showed the eclipse in there. They showed an eclipse in there, and that could also connect to love. So I could go all different ways with that, but I'm just saying this 214 number is used so often in different ways. And I think the reason the Pope was connected to this number is because the Pope represents the person who's supposed to be following Jesus, and the love, the
Right.
theme of Jesus, the heart of the sacred heart of Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
That usually that actually happens in June. The Sacred Heart of Jesus holiday happens in June. So I wonder if is the Happy Gilmore movie coming out in June this year, or is it coming out in July?
I believe it's July 25th. Let me go back. Yeah, July 25th.
Okay, then I believe that, yeah, it's definitely not in July, that holiday. I'll have to look and see when that is, but I'm just kind of thinking about that holiday, trying to see, because they call it the Sacred Heart of Jesus. They celebrate it every year. One year was actually on my birthday. Like 2 years ago was on my birthday, but it changes every year. Anyway, that's what I.
Yeah. I just did another measurement from Chris Rock's birthday to the release date of this stand-up special called Love You by Adam Sandler. 202 days. And in the Francis Bacon cipher, I know Derek changed it. I don't know why he did that, but Francis Bacon cipher, also known as the capitals added, it's 202, and I love you, 202. So two different ways to look at just the connection between Adam Sandler and Chris Rock. We also touched on briefly how, Chris Rock, he got slapped by Will Smith, who's from the city of brotherly love. So
the 202 could be interesting because just symbolically, I mean, it's got the O in it, like tennis, the zero is the love. It's in the middle too. And on the outside, you have the 22. Well, V is the 22nd letter. So you have like the V being the 22nd letter and the O right in the center of the twos.
And if you actually flip the twos around, you could make a heart with it, can't you?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Actually. You reverse one of the twos, you put them together. There you go. You got a heart.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Symbolically, I'm not trying to stretch anything. It's just like, just look at the way that these numbers and things are written.
Numbers for sure do have physical meaning when you look at them. There's the shapes of them are, and I think they definitely, this reality is definitely coded that way, 100%.
Definitely. So, Chris Rock connected to love, right? Because he got slapped by Mr. Will Smith, City of Brotherly Love, etc. Don't forget, you guys, after Philly won the Super Bowl, then they give Will Smith his own name. Of course, on 59th Street. We're not going to go that way, but we know all about 59 and Black history. But I'm going to segue to another segment. I'm trying to remember exactly when I touched on this, but once again, Adam Sandler being a basketball nut like I am, he had a movie called Hustles. I thought it was pretty good, but it looks like LeBron James was a producer of it. It's pretty much about him being a coach. You might notice here too, he has a hand injury in this movie as well. His hand is in a cast. But essentially he just he coaches a player and gets him to the NBA. He starts doing meetings with teams, trying to get workouts for him and whatnot. But of course, one of the teams that he goes to is Philadelphia. Right. So this is him walking out of his meeting, trying to get a workout for that player. But at the end of that movie, spoiler alert, if you guys plan on watching this movie or care, you can hit the mute button or turn it off. But he does end up making it to the NBA, you know, storybook ending. But he ends up playing for Boston, the Celtics. Don't forget Happy Gilmore. He's always wearing that Boston jersey. But I touched on this on my other book called They're After Me. And just look at the clover, right? The clover is essentially one of the symbols of Boston, the Celtics, at least in basketball. I mean, one leaf of the clover is a heart. So you can't get away from that symbology. Here's a snippet of that book that I was talking about, They're After Me. I named it that because the whole book really, I was on a weird Lucky Charms theme for a while. I was like, oh my God, they're touching on every marshmallow of Lucky Charms. It was beautiful. But what I wrote here, I just said, now that we've covered the themes of light and luck, we will now transition on how love intertwines perfectly within this web we continue to crawl around and further dissect. As mentioned already in the last chapter, notice that the word clover has the word love right in the middle of it, right? And a lucky clover is considered to be one with 4 leaves, which are individually shaped like a heart, and how love has 4 letters, right? Mm. So there was that piece, and we're about to wrap this up, Kodi, and this is going to go back to that whole V thing that you were talking about. I have not seen this movie, Kodi. I've seen the trailers. I know the gist of what the movie is about. But what if I told you, Codes, that Adam Sandler is also in a movie called Leo?
Oh, really? Huh.
Where he plays an old lizard.
Huh.
And essentially the movie, the gist that I got from the trailer is that he's dying to get out of his little box. And so he's one of those like lizards that lives in, one of these tanks, if you will, in an elementary school of all places. And he breaks out, but look at this. So he plays Leo, and from Pope Leo, from his news of him being announced, right, back on May 8th, to being the new Pope, and you measure that to Adam Sandler's birthday, it's 124 days. And I love you equals 124 in the simplest cipher of gematria. And guess what? You run it in reverse with Pythagorean, Robert Francis Prevost, 124.
Wow. I mean,
yeah.
Well, first of all, this combination of numbers, don't overlook that this is the same combination of numbers in Valentine's Day. The 2 just happens to be in the center. It's and like, so this set of numbers kept coming up so much with the new Pope. And I can't remember them all. I definitely, off the top of my head, I can't. But I just know for sure that when I was doing measurements and date measurements and gematrias, I kept seeing this combination of numbers come up. I was seeing the 241. I was seeing the 124. I was seeing the 421, the 214. This combination of numbers seems to be pretty big. And don't forget, the last person to see the Pope alive, the last Pope alive, was the guy born on the 214th day of the year.
Was that Vance? JD
Vance. And where's he from? Ohio, the heart of it all, right?
And we were just talking about Ohio on Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So he's from Ohio and the heart of it all. And he's born the 214 day of the year. And I guess I'll wait till you're done, but I just found something with the Sacred Heart of Jesus Day this year and Adam Sandler that's going to go perfectly with this.
Please hold that, because I got like 2 more slides, maybe 3, to kind of close this out. So we have, once again, I love you, 124. Pope Leo gets announced as the new Pope 124 days before Adam Sandler's birthday. And sure enough, Adam Sandler's in a movie called Leo. There could be a whole other stream. I would love to see someone talk more about, the whole reptilian connection here. Like, okay, he has to be a reptile, but besides that, I took a look. Look at this, Kodi. From Leo's release date to Pope Leo news, exactly 1 year and 24 weeks on the nose. So you got your
perfect.
Yeah, you got your 124 once again. And look at this. Directed by Robert Marianetti. Directed by Robert.
Man, this Robert theme is so big recently. I mean, of course, my last name's Robert Son, the son of Robert.
Yeah.
And we just had the Robert's son die.
Mm-hmm.
This name
of
Robert
Duck Dynasty. Yep.
Yeah, this name Robert is coming up a lot lately, and Robert equals 33 in gematria, so that might connect somehow back to the name Robertson. I'm pretty sure, and the name Robert is very big in Scotland, and in the UK. That's where the name's from, but that probably connects to all that. But that's a whole nother trail.
Yeah, for sure. So in closing, once again, we touched on this briefly just in conversation, but of course, Adam Sandler from Brooklyn. We have the Brooklyn Bridge collision, but Pope Leo in his first speech to the world, he talks about building bridges, and Adam Sandler played Leo in this 2023 film. We have that Mexican pirate ship crash into the Brooklyn Bridge shortly after that speech. But if you guys just type in bridge and love, I mean, there is so much stuff out there, you guys, just showing the real connections between love and bridge, right? There's this Martin Scorsese movie. I haven't seen it, but it's called The Lovers on the Bridge. Notice that it's a film by Leos Carax. The love bridge, Jesus is connected a lot, or symbolizes a lot, being a bridge of love. We have another book here written, The Bridge is Love. And I believe this is another book called And the Bridge is Love. So that's all I had. But when we talk about the V, Kodi, this is where you helped me kind of at least get that final puzzle piece into the picture here. Just look at the word Leo. That's 3 of the 4 letters of love, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Now you need to put the V in there. And you were talking about the flying V with the ducks and how the duck is connected to the heart, right? Wow. So to me, that's kind of that. It's not the full answer, but once again, this whole presentation is about love. We just kind of ended it on the topic of Adam Sandler playing Leo, and how now we have Pope Leo at the Vatican. And Leo, once again, it's just all it is missing is the letter V. So, makes me think of V for Vendetta, right? I don't know. We can go a million different directions, but when you pointed out the V, I really thought that was fitting, because the V is missing in Leo, but that completes the word love, I guess, is my point.
Yeah, that's when you really start looking at, now that you mentioned that, with the V, that's perfect with the Leo stuff. And I think that goes back to the sun again. I mean, think about how this can all go back around. Robert, son, Robert, Leo, the son of Robert, the sun in the sky. Leo is the sun sign. Jesus is the Son of God. And the word love, if you actually break it down more even, it has the word El, which is God. El. It has the O, which we know could be love in tennis, but also represents the letter 0 represents, in many ways it represents the infinite. And then the V, which of course is Venus, it's Venus, and it's the 22nd letter, and the 22 is that master number. So I'd have to think more, but you have the L like God, you have the O, and then you have the V, the OV. And another thing I wanted to mention with the V's is when Obama Did you ever hear about that story when Obama was in a classroom reading a book, Santa's Gotta Go, to the children? Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Well, when he was so on 12/12, I believe, on 2023, I covered this. It was a perfect alignment with 9/11. It was crazy because remember, Bush was reading a book to classmates, to kids on
Yeah.
9/11. Well, Obama kind of reenacted that on December 12th, 2023, right after his Leave the World Behind movie came out. He was seen in a classroom dressed as Santa, and he read a book to these kids. Well, the gist of it is, why am I bringing that up? Well, because when he was doing that, on the wall behind him, it had "It's all about the V." So the letter was emphasized behind him. It's all about the V. It's what it said.
Hmm.
And I always thought about that, why they had that behind there, what symbolism was. Well, yeah, it was a perfect number ritual. Casey Jones is saying that in the chat. It was a perfect number ritual. A perfect number is very rare, and he was perfectly in there on a perfect day reading to those children, and it was all about the V behind him.
Hmm.
And you could say that again. You could say that that's a reference to Venus. But in reference to what the reason he was there and the reason it was behind him, you could also reference that V with another word. We often shorten this word to that letter and you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
The V's, right? So it's all about the V's. And oh yeah, and Joseph mentions that in the iPet Goat film that's very popular to the truthers, Obama has a V on his forehead.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
And
go
don't
back
forget,
and watch this.
Obama connects this perfectly because he's a Leo and he's from Chicago, based out of Chicago, where Leo's from. So we made those connections to him already. But yeah, I still have to put more of that together. But we definitely made some headway here with this word love. And
Absolutely. Especially in that connection with Leo and love, right? Leo is just missing the V, right? And yeah, I think that was perfect. It was funny because like right before we started this presentation, you were talking about V and the flying V with the Mighty Ducks. Just a fun fact, Cody. I don't know if you knew this, but the Mighty Ducks are the only professional sports team that have ever been named after a movie to this day. Yeah, so you're not going to find another mascot or another team name that was named after an actual movie. And at that time, that was when Disney actually owned the Ducks. So, yeah, no, I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, no, that's a great addition. There's definitely a lot more about this V connection, especially with it being the one letter left out of love, and then you create Leo, right? So,
well, and don't forget the letter V didn't. I don't know if it was the letter V or it was the letter U. I think one of those letters did not. The reason the reason the Bacon cipher that Rambo always talks about is so important is because at one time in the English language, the V and the U, well, the V I don't believe existed. I think the U existed, and so in that cipher, when you decode, the V and the U have the same value because essentially they were used They could be used interchangeably.
mm-hmm.
But then when a V came along, you obviously got then another letter in the alphabet, right? So there's something to be said there that V was added to I think it was V. I might be wrong, but I think it was V that was added to the alphabet, and the letter J, V and J. I'm pretty sure those were the two that were added. But
the first movie that I think of is V for Vendetta. It's been a long time since I've seen that, but you got to think with what we've been talking about. There might be.
I talked about this a lot during the election last year because that was on Guy Fawkes Day, which was what V for Vendetta is about.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of connections with Venus and Lucifer, and the light, of course, the light bearer. But Venus, I think planet Venus equals Guy Fawkes Day. I actually did a whole video and I connected Lucifer, Venus, Guy Fawkes Day, V for Vendetta. That was right around the election time last year. And Trump, you know, he has a lot of Trump's connected to all the planets, he has connections to every single one. He's even connected to Sirius because he's born in the fire dog year. You get it?
Yep.
Sirius is the dog star, and it's the burning star, right? So you have he's born in the fire dog.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has everything encoded. Of course, Mercury is a huge connection to Trump. Of course, he has the Saturn symbolism.
He's also connected to love just through McDonald's. Don't forget that McDonald's.
I'm loving it. Yeah,
I'm loving it. Right. So, you know, I've done presentations on that as well. Shout out to Andrew. Andrew mentioned Eve Hammond. I'm not sure who Eve Hammond is exactly, but I'm just thinking of Adam and Eve.
That's right? The name of the character in V for Vendetta. Her name is Evie Hammond, I believe.
Yeah. But I mean, there you go. Andrew, thank you for at least just mentioning the name Eve, right? Because we were talking about Adam and Eve, right? Going back to the Bible and creation and all that. So, but yeah, you know, Kodi, that's all I really had for us today. I really appreciate your contributions. I think that whole V subject is very interesting and a very good way to kind of tie this particular presentation up. And I just want to thank you again for just carving out your time to sit back, watch, and listen, but then also, you know, add the contributions that you did, especially at the beginning, right? When we were talking about just OKC, besides the obvious, being sponsored by Loves, you know, you mentioning the O right in front of KC, O representing love and tennis, and then, of course, the city of brotherly love beat KC, Kansas City. So.
Yeah, and you know, the KC seems to come up a lot, you know, and I think one of the reasons that KC was so big over the last few years, after King Charles, right, KC, he after he came in, and this could have something to do with it too. I don't think we often talk about King Charles and Queen Elizabeth enough in our communities, but they're always super coded with this. I covered them a lot in my early days, but King Charles being the son and Elizabeth Mary, that's her name, being the mother. She died on the celebration of the Virgin Mary. That's the holiday for it. And so that whole thing, and then the KC Chiefs kind of really had that run pretty much in the time of King Charles. I mean, the year he became king, and then I think they won the Super Bowl like 2 of those years, and then it was kind of all kinds of KC. So I'm wondering if this OKC really is just a continuation of that. They couldn't keep it going in the NFL because it would just seem too obvious. Maybe they just had to jump to another sport, and now the OKC is going to be the follow-up for that, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a great point. I hadn't thought about
I did have my screen shared here real fast because I wanted to show you one last thing with this.
No, for sure.
With this Adam Sandler.
Yeah. Hey, but before we do that really quick, I just want to take a quick sidebar. You guys, I'm hanging out with Decoding with Kodi. You guys can find us every single Tuesday with The Godfather Rambo. Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock Central Time. That's 10 o'clock Eastern here in the United States. I know it's a lot later or earlier for Kodi where you're at, but I just want to give people a visual of where you guys can find Kodi on YouTube at Decoding with Kodi 589. Please make sure to go follow his page. Please make sure to hit the like and subscribe to this video. Really, really appreciate all of your guys' love and support throughout this new journey. So I'm going to take my screen down, and then Kodi, I see we got you here. Here we go.
Yeah, so can you see my screen and the Jesus heart thing?
I can see it, yep.
Okay, so this is the day I was talking about. They celebrate every year in June. It changes, but this year, it's called the Feast of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, right? And, well, this year it's on June 27th. Did you mention that date in this? I can't remember. Was this date in your slides anywhere? June 27th?
No, it was August 27th. That was the date of the Love You stand-up special.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, okay. But still, okay, so we talked about Adam Sandler, his stand-up Love You you know, the loves, all that stuff. So if you measure, so this is just icing on the cake, but it's cool. So from the this year's feast of the Sacred Heart, all about Jesus's love, to his birthday this year, boom, 214 again.
Wow. Sorry, I don't know if I was on mute, but holy smokes.
Yeah, so
man. Wow. Jeez Louise, dude.
And I couldn't remember. I could have swore I saw one of the gematrias. I was kind of typing in things as you were talking. I was typing in like Adam Sandler and Happy Gilmore, but something equaled 99. And of course, his birthday is 9/9. I just couldn't remember what it was. But yeah, the 214 is coming up over and over. And let's just remind people that in a few days, we're going to have a very important day, in my opinion. So we might as well bring it up real fast. Because of all the Pope stuff and the 214s and the hearts and the love, the day of May 31st, huge day for love. And let me explain why. First of all, it's 81 date numerology. It's also 18 date numerology. So let's go to the gematria. Love equals 18. Venus equals 81 and 18. So on this day, May 31st, you have 8118 like Venus, numerology, and you have 18 like love. Venus and love equals 18. Also, it's the 151st day of the year, Jesus Christ, 151. And it's the 214 days left.
Wow.
So this is a love day. But what's interesting about this day is it falls on a Saturday, which isn't quite lovely. So I'm wondering if we do get something on this day. This is also Clint Eastwood's birthday. I know you mentioned him earlier, a month or so ago. And we just had the death of this senator. What was his name again? I mentioned him. He was a black senator. Anyway, he was born in 1930. And so he was born just days before Clint Eastwood. No, or just days after Clint Eastwood in 1930. And so this guy just died. And you were talking about Clint Eastwood just a few weeks ago. So I just wanted to add that in there because I've been looking at this day and I just realized on this stream that it's super connected to love with all the numbers there. And I think it's an important day to see if we get some sort of love theme to pop up. And another one quick thing here. You mentioned the year 1974, didn't you?
Yeah, 1974. That was the year of the Sea of Hands play with the Raiders and the Dolphins. And I was connecting that to Travis Kelce having his hand injury against the Dolphins leading up to Super Bowl 58.
Okay, yeah. So that year was the release of Love Hurts. And Love Hurts came out on 1/18/1974. It was a Venus day. It was a Friday. How perfect. And remember, that was the game between the Packers and Eagles, the Love Hurts game. And, well, as I told you, but I just wanted people to be able to see it. If you go from the release of Love Hurts by Nazareth to the Love Hurts game, it was exactly 81 Venusian years. And of course, I just told you Venus. So you literally cannot get more perfect than that, man. The planet of love, you measure in the planet of love's measurement to that game, between that song and that game, and you land on the. Oh, that's the connection with the 99. 9 times 9 is 81.
There you go.
There you go. That's your connection with Adam Sandler and the love, I think. That's the 9/9.
Oh, I just thought of. There's also a TV show called Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Adam Sandler's from Brooklyn.
Oh, there you go. And notice that when you type in Venus, all the reduction values are 9, right?
Yep. There you go.
And just to stay on topic here, again, love equals 18 in the same cipher as Venus, of course, but that's also 9 plus 9.
There you go.
And I think the reason that 9 is so important with love is because the 9 goes back to this, the I am. 9 is the I is the 9th letter. I love you. You always start with I love you. So yeah, there's definitely something there, but we could go all day with those things. But I think that's a good start to kind of get our brains working more about the love, the I love you, and the Adam Sandler thing really just popped in my head with the 9-9 there though.
Yeah, and shout out to back once again. Just mentioned Adam Sandler recently starred in a Netflix film called Spaceman, where his character embarks on a research mission to Venus. Dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so take a look at Spaceman. I'm gonna take a look at that as well. Thank you so much back once again for that contribution.
That's a good one.
The last thing I just wanted to share, if you guys think we're just joking around about this love thing, I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen here and there about all the stuff going on with the P. Diddy news. But what are the freaking odds, you guys, that like one of the drawings of him in the courtroom, apparently he's leaving and he's giving out the heart symbol with his hands? I mean, this is this year as well. I mean, this is just I'm kind of taking a break from writing mini books because this whole love theme, I mean, the book would be gigantic. Like it would take me a very long time to compile all of that. So that's why I'm kind of thankful for this new venture and YouTube, just to kind of put it out and speak to it, as opposed to having to take that time to really crunch all the images together and type everything out. Obviously it's a lot of work. But yeah, I stumbled upon this, or someone actually sent this to me. One of my followers who is very well aware of the love themes going on. And he goes, look at this. Look what P. Diddy apparently is doing in the courtroom. Showing heart symbols with his hands. I mean,
yeah, it's obviously a theme that just is going to forever continue, I believe. I think you could follow it every day, probably. And I think what you said with YouTube having this, I love YouTube because it's just my document. I can just document stuff and it's there. It's on my channel. I don't have to like get it all out in one. I can just document it as I go. Of course, one day I would like to maybe try to write a book, but I don't know if I have the, I don't know if that's kind of my thing to write books, but maybe one day I'll try that. But I like YouTube, being able to document, being able to follow themes as they go. And even if I lost my channel, all of my slides in my Canva are saved. So I'd always have them. So I'd never lose completely my stuff. But yeah, this theme is crazy, and I'm just glad someone's been following it. So good job for you for taking that on and really putting that out there.
Well, and I appreciate you coming along for the ride, and all of the contributions that you added today as well. I'll tell you, writing a book isn't that hard. I just feel like with the love themes, it's like there's just so many, and it just keeps coming up and keeps coming up.
Right.
It's hard. It's like you want to keep adding more. It goes back to the hand, right? Like I wrote this, and then all of a sudden they announced the release of Happy Gilmore 2. They announced the death of Joe Lafferty, and I'm like, oh my god, like, oh, it's not in here. It's not in here because I had to stop at some point, but. I would just encourage you, man. I mean, you already do a fantastic job with your visuals and all the things that you crunch together. It's nothing more than just taking those exact same visuals and then just typing out your commentary.
Right.
In the same way that you professionally organize and present your work anyway. So
yeah, for me, it was just always about when I thought about writing a book, it was just always about the topic, or about what topic I wanted to do. Because I have so many topics I cover on my channel, and they can all be seen on my channel, but I wanted to find a special topic to write a book about specifically.
Sure.
And I've had a few. In fact, the Sirius stuff was one of those topics I thought about. And I think that's one I would lean towards. But I definitely need a bit more. I would like to go from that Roman Reigns stuff, and because that's one of my favorite decodes. And I think a lot of people love that decode, and I think it's obvious and it's mind blowing, but I think I can expand upon it and even find more with it. So that's one of my thoughts on that. But
well, hey, just my 2 cents for what it's worth. With you being so well versed in the world of WWE, I would love to see a Kodi book on WWE, and you could have Roman Reigns be like kind of the focal point of it. But you could break it down like each chapter just talking about some different wrestlers, and then kind of end with Roman Reigns, something like that. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming with you, but yeah, I would jump all over that for sure.
Wrestling for sure is my niche, and I've taken a break from it recently. Haven't talked so much about it because I just felt like my viewers deserved a bit of a break from wrestling, and I'm trying to stay well versed. That's kind of why I
Yeah.
focused a little bit on basketball and racing last week, because I kind of wanted to. I can really get into anything I'm decoding, to be honest, but wrestling is always going to be my favorite just because of the symbolism that I find in it, and it's everywhere. And me and Derek from Dramotionator, we both love wrestling, and we both love to decode it. And he's working on a decode today right now about wrestling that's pretty mind blowing with the Skull and Bones code. And so yeah, it's crazy, but definitely that's a good recommendation for me to be writing a book about that, because
and you can lean on Derek, and you guys could write it together. You know what I mean? You guys could chop it up and be like, hey, I'll take Roman Reigns, you take The Rock, I'll take John Cena, you take so and so, and then just compile it. So
yeah.
But let's wrap it up here. We're right at the hour 15-minute mark. I told you we were looking between 60 to 90 minutes to go through the presentation, and
and it was a great presentation. I enjoyed it, and I'm grateful for you having me on, man. So especially today, I really needed this, and just so grateful for being able to just come on here and have a nice casual decode and just feel the love. So I needed that.
I'm always here for you, Kodi. You know that. You know how to find me, and let me know if there's anything I can do for you. We will definitely be chatting before our Tuesday live with Rambo. Always more to add and to share to these themes. So we're not even halfway through the year yet, so I'm very confident that there's going to be a lot more going into this side stream of the love themes. So exactly. Thanks again, Kodi. Yeah, I'll wrap it up and just say, hey, you guys can find Decoding with Kodi at Decoding with Kodi 589 on YouTube. And I just want to thank everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for the love and the contributions. Please make sure to hit the like and subscribe on the way out if you guys are new to the channel. And Kodi, thank you again so much for being here with me today. I feel the love, and I really appreciate just you linking arms with me and really helping grow my channel. It's been a huge blessing. Can't thank you enough for that.
No problem, man. And I hope we can continue to grow with each other. Our channels grow together, and our love grow together, and with everyone else also in the chat. I love you all. I really do. I really do. Recently, I know there's been a lot thrown around, but I really do love people, and I want to make this world a better place. That is where my heart's at. I'm not perfect, but that's where my heart's at. So
yeah, last thing I'm going to say is what I'm learning from all of this is that they want to keep love from us as much as possible, because if we stay away from love and we focus on other things outside of that, then that's how we're controlled. That's how we stay in very low vibrations. That's how we do not grow. So by leaning into love, leaning onto each other, that's the only way that we can grow as a society, as humanity, right? With all of the deception and nonsense that's going on around us. Let's just keep leaning into it, no matter what gets thrown at us. All right.
Yeah, I agree. So
love conquers all.
Yeah.
All right, Kodi. Hey, you have a good rest of your day. I know it's actually, it's getting late over there for you. So thanks again for everything. And we'll be chatting very soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks again. Thanks everyone in the chat.
Take care, Codes. Love always.
Take care.
Peace.
Much love.